Catcher. Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Carly, and for today's video, I decided to do something probably I'm gonna regret in 10 minutes. I decided to tell you guys about my most embarrassing moments. Now, let me make this perfectly clear that something embarrassing and or awkward happens to me at least once a day. At least. So these moments are just the ones that I could remember that were super embarrassing or awkward. But there are probably so many more that if you know me, you can think of. Because, like I said, it's a daily thing. Do I want to get started? No. Are we gonna get started? Yeah. Let's get started. The first embarrassing moment I have is titled ripping my pants. So when I was in elementary school, I was that girl who kind of tottered between, is that a word? It is now. Tottered between a girly girl and a tomboy. I didn't really know which one I wanted to be at the time, so during recess, I'd go play all the athletic games like kickball and foursquare and all that nonsense. But then I'd leave and go sit with girls and talk and play like princess and stuff like that. So one day when I was sitting with girls playing princess, I decided, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna go run to play this other game. Well, where I was sitting was a wooden playground. And on a wooden playground, actually probably on any playground, there are bolts. Apparently, my pant loop was hooked to one. So as I run to go to play kickball, my pants rip. And I'm not talking like a little pant loop tear, no, somehow my pants rip from pant loop to like end of pocket. So I have this huge flap now in my pants. So I immediately just took the flap up real quick and ran to my teacher and told her what happened and went to the nurse and got new pants. And if you think that's the worst part, it's not. On this particular day, it was a Friday, and on Fridays, we sometimes got to go out for a second recess right before we got to leave to go home. So, once again, I decide I'm gonna go sit with the girls and just not play at all today, so that way I can just avoid that whole situation again. So, as we're sitting there talking, all that good stuff, the teacher calls us in to go inside to get our stuff to go home. Like a normal child, I run and realize I ripped my other pants. Apparently, the same exact thing had happened. I'm pretty sure I ripped my pants like at least 5 times that year alone. I don't know how. The second embarrassing story I have is titled, Oh Brother. So when I was in intermediate school, my class had some type of game where you put an X on your hand, and whenever someone slapped it, they dared you to go ask someone out, and you had to do it no matter what. So one day when I was at my friend's house, it was just me and her hanging out, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna put an X on my hand to be funny, because I thought I was hilarious. We know that. We know it's not right, but whatever. So I put an X on my hand, and she immediately slaps it and tells me to call this guy. We're gonna name him Ricardo. That's not his real name, but that's what we're gonna call him. She dares me to call Ricardo, who at the time was one of my very best guy friends. We got along super well, but I just never saw him in that kind of way. 7th grade, you know? Totally looking for that, right? Anyway, so I call Ricardo and I'm like, hey, like, do you want to go out with me? To which he responds, yes. So I go, okay, hang up. And then I sit there for a second and I go, wait, he just said yes. So I sit there for a second and panic and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I just gotta call him back. So I call him back and I'm like, hey, that was a joke, I got dared. And he was like, oh yeah, I kind of figured. And I was like, okay, I'm really sorry, and just hang up. And I felt terrible. And if you, again, think that's the worst part, nope. Fast forward to a few weeks later at a choir retreat at my school that was like an all-day thing. So yeah, we did sing most of the day, but there were times where we got to go in the gym and like hang out and play basketball and stuff like that. So that was one of the first things we actually got to do, I guess, to get us excited. I don't know. So me and my gal friend, we'll name her Barbie. Barbie and I are walking into the gym, and then we see probably the most attractive guy we had ever seen at the time. Anyway, so Barbie and I sit next to Ricardo and a bunch of all of our other friends. One of the other guys looks at Ricardo and goes, hey dude, isn't that your brother over there? And points at this guy that we thought was attractive. So Barbie and I immediately look at each other, look at Ricardo and go, that's your brother? And he was like, yeah, it's no big deal, like, whatever. So being the catch I am, I decided to, stalk Ricardo's brother all day. So as Barbie and I are stalking him throughout the day, he realizes that we're around every single corner and comes up to us and starts talking to us, and we ended up becoming pretty good friends. Fast forward to a few weeks later, him and I start dating. We'll name him Mac. Anyway, so we've been dating for a couple of weeks, and we're on the phone having a conversation, and he's just like, hey, you want to play Truth or Truth because we can't see each other to do dares? So obviously, yeah, I'm gonna play, like, whatever. So we're playing Truth or Truth, and he's like, oh, have you ever dated with someone with the same last name as me? And I just go, not exactly. And he goes, what do you mean, not exactly? So I go in to tell him about what happened between me and his brother Ricardo, and it got awkward. He then begins to tell me how bad he feels for his brother and goes into a 10-minute lecture about how his brother has never had a girlfriend and how that was super mean of me. It's awkward. It was just bad. The whole situation was just terrible. Fast forward to the next year, and we come to my third embarrassing story, titled, I'm Not a Thief. So 8th grade rolls around, and we get our lockers and our textbooks on the first day of school, so naturally I go to put my textbooks in my locker. Day goes on, and I get to my English class, and my teacher tells me, you need to have your textbook because I'm going to make sure you all fill out the front page. So I go to my locker to get my textbook, and it won't open. I try for a solid 5 minutes trying to get my locker to open, and it just won't. So I go to my English teacher and I tell her what the problem is, and so she takes her locker key that she has, comes over to my locker, unlocks it, I take my books out, and she says, we're gonna get you a new locker at the end of the day. So I say, okay, cool, whatever. So the rest of the day I carry around my books, and then it comes to last period. During last period, I'm looking back over my schedule, and I look at the top to see where my locker is, and I realize I was at the wrong locker before. So not only did I spend 5 minutes trying to open this locker, I got a teacher to open it, and I took the books out of it, and they weren't even mine. So what does a normal person do? Probably find the person whose locker it is and give them the books back. What did I do? I write a note explaining what happened, but didn't put my name, put the books on top of the lockers, and then slid the note into that person's locker. I never found out whose locker that was, and I don't think I ever want to know. But if that happened to you in 8th grade and you went to school with me, I am so sorry. The fourth embarrassing moment I had is titled, I Swear I Can Read. So my senior year of high school, I really started to think about what I want to do in the future, and I decided on broadcasting. So naturally, being the go-getter I am, I talked to the assistant principal at my high school and asked him if I could do the announcements one morning. So I go in there feeling super confident, and I'm so excited because this assistant principal is super cool, and I know it's gonna be fun and a breeze and all this stuff. Well, in walks in my least favorite assistant principal, who then begins to tell me that he is going to be with me this morning on the announcements. Great. So we go into the little announcement room, and he goes, you know, this isn't gonna be easy. It's gonna be really hard, actually. Wow, it sounds like The Notebook. Begins to tell me how the whole school is going to hear me, how this is super hard and it's not, and all this nonsense. I then begin to freak out a little bit. Then he hands me the papers with all the announcements on it, which I would just like to point out are just a bunch of papers that are all handwritten in different handwritings, some in pen, some in highlighters, some in pencil, some with arrows, drawing up to things, some with little scratches out. After he begins to tell me how difficult it is, he then goes, all right, let's get started, and hits the button. I believe my intro was something like, good morning, high school. And if you think that's the worst part, nope. I then begin to go on with the announcements, and I get to the Rocket Club of my high school, and I get to a word that I don't know how to read because it's a long word. So I look over at the assistant principal, and I cover the microphone, and I go, I don't know how to say that. Instead of reading it and trying to figure out what it says, he takes the announcement away from me. I didn't finish the Rocket Club's announcement, so if you were in the Rocket Club at my high school, I am so sorry. Not my fault. I then get to an announcement about Rachel's challenge, that we were having this big thing for it at my high school one day, and I read the date as the 18th. And then I go back and I look at it and I realize it says the 6th. How did I get 18 from 6? I don't know. Ask the person who wrote it. Anyway, after I realized what mistake I made, I go, oh my god, it's the 6th, I'm so sorry. After the announcements was done, I then had to go throughout the entire day of people going, hey, good job on the announcements this morning. My fifth and last embarrassing moment entitles "This Shouldn't Be Happening to Me in College." So as a lot of you know, I recently started my freshman year of college, and on the first day, I realized I'm supposed to be at biology. So I go all the way to this back building that takes me at least 7 minutes to get to from where my car is in the front parking lot. I get all the way there and I walk into the classroom and I see tons of people I know. In fact, the whole class is probably people I know. So I sit down next to some people I know and we start talking for a few minutes. Then the teacher gets started. He starts handing out the syllabus and going over it and stuff. As I'm looking through it, I go back to the front page and I look at the top and I realize teacher's name on the syllabus is not the same name I have on my schedule. So I lean over to my friend and I'm like, hey, is this the right guy? Like, is this the guy that's supposed to be in here? And she's like, yeah, why? And I show her my schedule and she's like, yeah, Carly, you're supposed to be at speech. So I then sit there for a solid 2 more minutes trying to figure out what to do, and I just decide I guess I should just leave. I'm already late to my speech class. So I get my stuff, get up, and leave. I didn't say a word, I just got up and left. So then I speed walk all the way to my real class, and I get in there and I'm already about 15 minutes late at this point, and I just sit down. I don't say a word. At the end of class, I then go up to my professor and I'm like, I'm really sorry I was late. I accidentally went to the wrong class. And he goes, oh, really? What speech class did you end up at? I responded with, oh, well, I kind of ended up at biology. And he replied with, how'd you manage that? I spent a solid 10 minutes in a class that I wasn't supposed to be in, full of people I know. So now they all know how big of an idiot I am. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed laughing at my life, because I know I do. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe because I just hit 60 subscribers and I'm so excited. That wasn't necessary. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My @name will be at the end of this video. And I guess that's it. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye!